At WrestleMania 18, Shawn hadn't come back. He was still retired. And then you get to have this match. You grew up idolizing him as a wrestler. I mean, you can't really ask for a better WrestleMania moment.
Well, here's the thing. Once again, I mentioned before about how certain matches aren't destined to be classics because they just don't have the time or the build-up. This match of Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho was given all of the tools to become a classic match. And in my opinion, it is a classic. Every year, like I said right off the gate, people want to steal the show. Everybody wants to have the best match on WrestleMania. And I can honestly say, for WrestleMania 19, the best match on the show was Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho. And that's not my opinion. That's just what everybody and critics and fans and everybody thinks. So we have achieved this this goal that's seemingly unattainable. Shawn's done it many times. That's probably the one and only time that I did it. And I remember at somebody was saying, well, you know, Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle's pretty good too. And that was the one where Brock did a shooting star press and landed on his head. And I wish I could do a better Shawn Michaels impression, but I can't because it's got that really deep kind of cocky, arrogant voice. Well, let me ask you this. How could their match be better than ours when the finish was the guy landing on his fucking head? Doesn't count. So we had done this, it was another, you'll find this out quite a bit. There's a lot of years where certain matches are marked in for WrestleMania months before, and other guys are just kind of left floundering. You know, not floundering, but we're not sure what we're doing with you yet. And I remember one of the plans was, well, maybe we'll do something with Jericho and Edge. But this was very early, like November, December. Then we had a highlight reel in Orlando with me and Shawn. And it was basically just meant to be, I think, just kind of almost a throwaway, a feel-good segment where I call Shawn, you know, old or whatever. I think he was probably 40. You know, he was 39 at the time, maybe 40. And then he ends up by super kicking me in the face. And that's kind of the end, and Shawn dances, and, you know, we move on to the next week or whatever it is. And we did the segment, and I remember, like, it was really electric. Like, people were buzzing over this, just seeing us in the same ring together, whether you knew my history of Shawn Michaels or not, but there was something there. I remember when we came through the curtain to Gorilla, and Vince was sitting there, and he goes, "You smell that?" I said, "What?" He goes, "That smells like money." And then I started thinking, it does smell like money. Now, Shawn had had one match since he came back. He was not slated to do WrestleMania that year. He still didn't have his self-confidence yet. But when this angle was pitched to him, he said, if there's anybody I'm going to do it with, it's Chris Jericho. Now, for those of you that don't know, my three biggest inspirations as a wrestler were Owen Hart, Ricky Steamboat, and Shawn Michaels. I patterned the early years of my career on Shawn Michaels. I would do direct high spots that he did. I would wear costumes just like the Rockers. I even convinced Lance Storm to wear Rockers costumes. Lance Storm is the opposite of a rocker. But still, it was tassels and, you know, the jumping and running and rock and roll and, you know, flip off the top and all the stuff that Shawn Michaels did. So when I had the chance to start working with him, I said, there's a story here already. It's the classic karate kung fu movie of mentor versus student, until the student thinks he can beat the mentor, and then the final battle happens. And that's kind of where we went. So the build-up for it, I actually found some videotape from my first match ever. And I remember what the spot was. Guy shoots me to the corner. I up and over him. He charges at me, I hip toss him, he stands up, I jump and give him what we used to call a reverse victory roll, but it's basically a Frankensteiner. And this was in 1990 when no one did a reverse. If you could do a reverse victory roll, you were like fucking Phoenix or Nick Jackson or Sammy Guevara. Like, you were the greatest athlete in the world. So I did that spot, and I found it, and I found the spot where Shawn did it at SummerSlam 90, and we showed that during the angle. Side by side on Raw of Jericho completely ripping off Shawn Michaels move for move. So everyone understood the story. It was really, really cool. It was really well built up. And people were very much anticipating the return of Shawn Michaels. And the reason why Shawn and I always had great chemistry, and even having one of the greatest storylines in WWE history in 2008, in my opinion, once again, is that he was such a great babyface, and I was such a great heel that you had perfect chemistry. It's why I always had great stories and matches with The Rock. He's such a good babyface, and you need a dragon if you're going to have a dragon slayer. So I was breathing fire like a motherfucker, I'll tell you that. So we go to the stadium in Seattle. And you go the day before, 2 days before, you have to book an appointment, basically, to get into the ring to practice your match. So there'll be kind of a big diary or a binder or a day planner. That's what I'm looking for. And they would say, when would you like to come in and go over your match? Now, obviously, the main events get a little bit more leeway, and the opening matches take what they can get. And we were kind of like in the middle of that. And so we got to go in, I don't know, Thursday at noon, let's say. And a couple days prior, I was looking for like a black Speedo bathing suit that I wore underneath my tights at a sporting goods store. It was called Dick's Sporting Goods. No coincidence there, right? And I'm just standing there, and suddenly I get hit with the muse. Like this is like, oh shit. Excuse me, ma'am, can I borrow a piece of paper and a pen? You got to give the pen back. I promise I'll give the pen back. How do I know you're going to? Give me the fucking pen. I'll stand right here. I got to get this on paper before I forget. And I wrote down the whole end of the match. And it was long. I was there for about 20 minutes, just kind of scribbling ideas down for this finish. Put it on a piece of paper, stuck it in my pocket, looked at it again the next day to make sure it still made sense, which it did, and said, well, I'll pitch this to Shawn and see what he says. So I go at noon on Thursday to the stadium in Seattle. Shawn is there. I remember we sat in the front row by the ring in this giant stadium. And people go over matches for hours, sometimes days, a long time. I don't really do that, but a lot of people have a long process. I sit down next to Shawn. He sits down next to me. He goes, you got any ideas? I said, yeah, I actually have pretty much the whole finish. He goes, really? I said, yeah. I said, do you have any ideas? He said, I pretty much have the whole beginning. I said, what? He goes, yeah, whatever I was doing, I just got hit with all these ideas and had to write them down. I was like, this is what happened to me. So he went over his beginning. That's great. I went over my end. That's great. 10 minutes. See you on Sunday. And that shows you when you have great chemistry and understand the psychology of wrestling, you don't have to sit there right here like, oh, it took them 6 hours to put together a match. I'm like, what the fuck? 6 hours? Are you kidding me? Or they got in a fight putting together a match. Who's fighting over a match? You just make it up. You do whatever you want. So that was so quickly put together. And then, of course, execution is the next thing, which we had perfectly. And I'll say one more thing about it was, I thought that the finish should be me going over. Just the position that I was in. I had big matches with Triple H and lost. I had big matches with Austin and lost. And, and I just thought it really fit better if I won. I would always go to Pat Patterson, who was a pro wrestling Jedi. He was so smart with psychology. Yeah, just a great, he was like Yoda. And I was like Luke Skywalker in his little knapsack running through, Dagobah. And I was just trying to have him explain why it made sense. He goes, it doesn't matter who wins and loses. But he goes, you do need to do something at the end. And that's when Vince said, why don't you just kick him in the nuts? And I was like, fuck, it's great. So that's why we did the thing where we hug at the end. And it's almost like A2 Brutus. And I kick him in the balls. And he did this. Shawn is such a great baby face. Like most guys would just go down and sell. But he kind of did this thing where he kind of melted down my body. This look on his face and just collapsed. And it was just the ultimate finish for this amazing classic match that still, in my opinion, is one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time.
You can't be Bret the Hitman Hart of old technically and all that kind of stuff. But when you go out and you do it and you get to beat the shit out of Vince McMahon for 18 minutes, when that was over, was there like, what did it feel like? Were you happy that you did it? were you happy that you got to go out there in front of a stadium and be Bret Hart again?
Yeah, I think that was what it was all about. I think I was searching for something, peace. I think I was searching for sort of peace and sort of a new path. Like I can only describe it as like always, like I said earlier. It's like I was so tired of carrying around this big bag of rocks all the time. I just wanted to drop it, and so I was. I wanted this sort of move in a better direction, and see if I could bring back some of that. I think most importantly, I think highlight when I think of wrestling Vince McMahon in Arizona at the big football stadium. I think for me it was like when I was in my wheelchair. I think when I was in my wheelchair, I knew how impossible it was for me to walk out to the ring anymore. And I remember when I was on that ramp and walking down with all the lights in the stadium and the crowd. Anyway, that's all. I think it's all part of my stroke. This stroke makes you really emotional all the time. So I apologize for that. I have to recover for a couple of seconds. But anyway, walking down the ramp and to the ring and all that was so important to me. And I remember thinking, I never thought I'd ever do this. So I think it was a victory for me. It was all for me. I did that for myself. And I think it was good. Like, I think, I know the match I had with Vince was not wasn't Wembley Stadium with Bulldog or the Iron Man match or anything. But all said, it was still a lot of fun. I'm so glad I remember thinking, because I had this huge lawsuit pending over my head, which, believe it or not, I still have. There's still an open file with Lloyd's of London suing me that's never progressed afterwards, because I don't think they have any kind of a case. There was no full contact wrestling that they could ever pin on me. But it was weighing on me heavy at the time. I remember going into WrestleMania thinking, what are we going to do? Like, I can't do anything. All I can do is move forward and punch Vince. There's not much else. I can't do a drop kick. I can't suplex anybody. I can't fall backwards and hit my head, or any kind of falling motion would be break my contract with them sort of thing, or put me in jeopardy anyway. So I remember thinking, what the hell are we going to do in this match? It's going to be like a stinkeroo match, so I was kind of worried about it. But I have so much, I'm so happy with the storyline Vince came up with. It was actually like the stuff where they broke my leg was a way to get, to tell a story, and having all my brothers and sisters as lumberjacks. I don't know where they came up with that. I think Vince must have been smoking a big doobie when he came up with that, because he had some of my sisters are like, one's a librarian, and And I remember this, like, they only came down for the Hall of Fame. They didn't show up. No one told them any of this stuff, or me. I remember, like, the day before the big match, we have a meeting with Vince at the building, or I think it was at the hotel on the top floor or something like that. We met Vince. Vince rented a whole floor and had a wrestling ring up on the top floor of the hotel set up for the wrestlers to practice their matches, including me. And he summoned all my family to come to it was right after the Hall of Fame award thing. I think that was on a Saturday night. And then he requested everyone in my family to come meet him in the top of this hotel and go over the match. And suddenly they're going, "What match?" Like, we're not, it's like, "Yeah, you're the Lumberjacks." And it's like, so, it was kind of funny. I remember there was so much. You come from a family of 12 kids that all grew up in the wrestling business. Everybody's got a say. Even my sisters have a say. It was like I remember I looked at Vince one time like, "Now you know what I've been going through all my life." But they're all arguing about who's going to do this and who's going to do what, and I'm not doing this, and I'm not going to, they were all really uptight. Most of them, a lot of them were still really mad about Owen. They were mad about Martha had told anyone that if anyone even walked out in Arizona, that she would never talk to them again. And I had one brother that didn't go out. He just refused to go out on account of that. And there was, I remember I wanted to show the world in a way that we were all a tighter family through all the trouble we've been through, that we were united kind of all together. And, that was important to me. And it's funny when I look back on it, because I remember Vince had told me earlier, like, my brother Bruce was always kind of a stiff wrestler. Stiff meaning he potatoed everybody he worked with. And I remember Vince said, he goes, "Whatever happens in this match, I don't want your brother Bruce laying a finger on me. So we're going to make Bruce the referee." Which to me made sense, because Bruce has a habit of writing himself in like a bigger part in the movie than he's supposed to get. You're only supposed to hit Steve Austin once, but Bruce cleaned house on Hawk, Shamrock, Animal. Bruce couldn't stop taking a bigger piece of the pie than he was supposed to. So I was like, okay, that'll stop Bruce is just the referee. And then I remember one of my sisters getting really upset because my brother Wayne was always the Stampede Wrestling referee. And it's like, Wayne's got to be the referee and not Bruce. And she got really animated about it. It's like, Allison, relax, just calm down. It's not that important that Wayne referees. No one even knows that he was a referee from Stampede Wrestling, and Wayne's not worried about it. But anyway, so there was a lot of arguing and bickering, and everyone got pretty intense. And I just remember looking at Vince, and it's like, now you know. This is what I go through all the time. And I remember telling Vince, I said, you know what, if you tell them what you want them to do, they'll do it. But if you ask me to tell them, like for me to tell them all what Vince wants you to do, they won't do anything I tell you. Like, they won't listen to me, but they'll listen to Vince. And, when Vince laid out the whole thing about the match, I remember it was all set up. Actually, I didn't have to fall down or do anything. And I remember going, it's perfect for me. It's a perfect storyline that Vince wrote out for me or gave me basically to do, that involved no physical contact and didn't involve me falling in any way. And I thought it protected me in case I lost, like where I went to court with Lloyd's of London. And so, skipping ahead to the next day at WrestleMania, all my family, some of them I think were just stressed out because they've never, a lot of them, like my sisters, have never been on TV. They've certainly never been lumberjacks in a wrestling match. And I kept trying to get them to calm down and just listen to what they need to do. And I remember Vince, before we walked out in the match, which I didn't know prior to that. I mean, Vince was, we didn't really have any kind of rehearsal. We kind of talked about stuff I could do. And funny enough, a lot of the things I wanted to do we weren't allowed to do anymore. Like, I wanted to take this kind of cord, these kind of cords and stuff like that they have all around the ring. I wanted to strangle Vince with one of those because I could pretend to strangle him with those, but I guess because of the Benoit thing, they were really touchy and still are about any kind of strangling kind of thing on TV. So Vince goes, they can't do any of that. Everything had to be no contact. It's like, okay, so how I was trying to think of things I could do with Vince. And I remember he told me just before I walked through the curtain, he showed me, he pulled up his shirt and he's got this big rubber pad on his back. It was like a stuntman pad that was shaped like to give him like a really muscular back. And it looked great. When he put his suit on, Vince looked pretty buff in this padded, and he told me just before he walks out, he goes, lay it in. Don't hold back. You hit me with that chair absolutely as hard as you can. I said, are you sure? And he goes, I'm sure. And I said, all right. And so, of course, my brother was already in the ring or already out in the crowd or getting ready for his part. And that whole storyline played out. He didn't know anything about a rubber pad. So I remember my brother Bruce almost getting hysterical in the ring that he thought I was going to kill Vince. And I was smashing Vince over and over with that chair till it hurt my hands. I was hitting him so hard. And, you know, I remember my brothers kept backing me up and going, like, he's one to talk. He's going, lighten up. You know, take it easy on Vince. I think you're getting a little stiff. And I'm thinking, and I just kept staying in character, like, step aside, Bruce. And, wham, you know, again. But it was really fun for me to beat Vince with that chair and beat him as hard as I did. And I think I probably potatoed him a couple of times. But in a lot of ways, I looked at all of that as a big victory for me. And I was really grateful that I had that chance and I had a chance to walk down to the ring one last time.
Do you look forward to the next kind of WrestleMania? Because at this point, you've had the first WrestleMania in the Battle Royal. The second one, you're maybe going to be involved in the main event, but it doesn't quite work out. The third one, you're added to a match. Is there something in your head where you kind of go, I want to make sure somehow that I can be in that next one?
I think as a talent, some guys just like to get paid, and that's great. And the other guys, they're more looking for the creative, like the fix. And for me, I gave myself a rule after WrestleMania in Houston. I'm never going to sit in the family box ever again. You know, if you're not performing, you can go up and sit in the family box with all the Hall of Famers and all the family, and it's nice. But I gave myself that rule, and then I was in the triple threat the next year, and I gave myself a rule at the triple threat. I said, I'm never going to be in this triple threat. I'm going to do a singles match. And I really genuinely gave myself that rule. And it's like the Super Bowl and, you know, American sports as far as you work year round to get on WrestleMania. So as we like approach WrestleMania in Atlanta, that most people don't know that's my first singles match on a pay-per-view, and it just happened to be a friggin' WrestleMania. So that's all you think about is WrestleMania.
And working with Rey Mysterio in your first WrestleMania as a singles match.
Best.
What was that? Yeah, Rey Mysterio, ladies and gentlemen.
Rey Mysterio.
How did it come about that you and him get the match? Because it seems like at that point, you're a young guy, he's a veteran who could probably, at that point, call who he wants to work with.
That's exactly what happened. I remember standing by the ring and Dash and Cody Rhodes is kind of fizzling out, and there's a whole discussion on one side of the ring about why I don't wear knee pads, and then on the other side of the ring, Ray, Cody, hey. I'm excited. It's Rey Mysterio, you know, go over. Hey, anybody talk to you about WrestleMania? Oh, no, not yet. Like, no, of course not. Nobody's. Well, I'm thinking about matches. I want to work you. Oh, okay. And then Dean Malenko walks over, and Dean is Ray's like, I don't know, comes across as many things. His bodyguard, his father, like he's a 100. He goes, hey, did you guys talk? He goes, yeah, let's do WrestleMania. Okay, and Ray, hey, give me your number. And the thing is, I want you to come up with the ideas though, because I'm not interested. Okay, yeah, no, definitely. I'm gonna come up with the ideas. This is months out for WrestleMania, so I like write this like just manifesto. I was so excited. I stayed up all night and I write it and I text Ray. Didn't text me back. Text him again. Didn't text me. Like 2 weeks go by, and I've seen him now. He still hasn't got back to me. And we walk into this arena, Tulsa. I'll never forget Tulsa, Oklahoma. We walk in, and there's Ray. And Ray dresses like a gift from God is a good way. He's got these Louis Vuitton shoes on, Louis Vuitton leather pants. Like, not everyone can pull it off, but Ray could pull it off. And I walk in and go, "Hey, Cody." "Yeah." And then he just goes, boom, boom, boom. And I look, it's Vince's door. Well, I don't do this. I just, knock, knock, stick my head in. "Hey, oh, never mind." Close the door. Ray just literally pushes the door open with his bottom foot, and Vince is kind of caught off guard. And Ray goes, "Hey, I've been talking about WrestleMania opponents. I want to work Cody." And Vince goes, "Yeah? You got an idea?" And I had it. And I think he was pissed that I had it. I took it out. I said, "Yeah, right here." He goes, begrudgingly looking at it, puts on these little tiny glasses. And then he goes, "Yeah, okay. WrestleMania. Matches will be really good, right?" "Yeah, going to be great." And then, so that's why I say, like, without Ray, like, doing that, nothing happens. I don't know why Ray took such a trust in the whole situation. But then the other part was, like, we were talking about Michael Hayes. Everything I wrote down got to happen. Everything. The addition that Vince made to the mask, which was just essentially like Phantom of the Opera meets American Psycho. Vince wanted me to put paper bags on people's heads, and that was his addition. And I thought, hey, it's great. I used to walk in the building, you see all these kind of union local employees just cutting the eyes out of these paper bags. And there's like this many. I know I'm going to put it on like 6 people, and they looked so miserable. And it looked so miserable. I'm sorry, guys. I never stopped to say hi. I just kept going. But Ray. Yeah, that's why, for sure, if we could, one more to Rey Mysterio, because he's the fucking man.
I had a WrestleMania match against Fandango. And that was WrestleMania 29. You win a prize. Collect it from Kenny McIntosh after the show. And that was not the original plan. So I was actually kind of angry at first because the idea when I came back that year was at WrestleMania I was going to face Ryback. Oh my God. Poor Ryback. But at the time, Ryback was actually really hot. And I thought for me to work with Ryback, I actually thought at one point in time he was so popular that he could have actually worked with Undertaker at a WrestleMania and maybe been the guy to beat the streak. That's how popular he was at the time and how good he was doing. Obviously, it didn't work out too well for him. So, considering your reaction. So, but that was not the case. And I knew something was going on because every week somebody new was getting an angle for WrestleMania. Their match was locked in. This match, that match, this match, that match. And I kept asking, when is we starting the build for Ryback and Jericho? When are we doing this? And all I heard from the writers was Vince wants to talk to you on his own. I'm like, well, what does he want me to do? It's like, we don't know. And I'm thinking, like, I knew it wasn't going to be Ryback because he started doing something with Mark Henry. So I'm like, what's it going to be? Like a few years earlier, I was supposed to do something with Mickey Rourke, and then it didn't work out, so it ended up being me versus Piper and Snuka and whoever else was in there. Steamboat, yes, sorry. And Flair was out there, and Rourke was out there. It was like kind of an attraction match. In WrestleMania, there's matches that are kind of slotted to steal the show. There's matches that are on there just to get everybody in the card, and then there's your attraction matches. Ones that aren't supposed to be great, but people will pay money to see. So I'm like, well, who am I going to be wrestling against? Like, I don't know, maybe it'd be Jericho versus Brad Pitt. You know, it could be. I mean, who's a real big star from Manchester? Liam Gallagher. Maybe it's Jericho versus Liam Gallagher. Maybe it's Liam Gallagher and Noel Gallagher versus Jericho. Tried a little bit of Oasis humor there for you. But I was like, oh, thank you. Just trying to fit in with the local culture, guys. So I'm like, well, who's it going to be? So finally, I get Vince on the phone. I'm like, Vince, you got to tell me. What am I doing at WrestleMania? Like, what's it going to be? He's like, oh, well, it's going to be the same thing you do every year. You're going to be looking at the lights, pal. And I'm like, oh man, I'm in trouble. Because whenever Vince opens a conversation with a bad joke, you know that you're not going to like what he's going to tell you. So I'm like, all right, well, who am I going to be wrestling against? Like, I'm thinking to myself, everybody in the roster has basically been paired off, except for this one new guy, these really shitty, stupid vignettes. And who am I going to be working? He's like, Chris, I'm going to have you work with this new guy, Fandango. I'm like, oh, that's the guy with the shitty, stupid vignettes. And I couldn't believe it. I was incensed. I was like, what are you talking about, Fandango? This guy hasn't had a match yet. And Vince's like, I know, but he's the new guy, and he's going to debut at WrestleMania versus Chris Jericho versus Y2J. What a great way to start a career. And I was like, no, I can't believe now, thinking back how mad I was. Like, it's his fucking company. Vince can put me in there with whoever he wants. I can't be mad about it, but I was so insulted and angry, and I was like, well, I can't work with Fandango. He goes, don't worry. He goes, just take 90% of the match and then do the finish. And I was like, no, I'm not. What about Wade Barrett? Wade Barrett is a 9-time Intercontinental Champion. I could go for the 10th victory. I'm a 9-time Intercontinental Champion. I could go for my 10th victory, the record-breaking 10th Intercontinental Championship. He goes, oh, nobody cares about the fucking Intercontinental Championship. And I said, but they don't care about Fandango either. And he goes, that's your job, is to make them care. And I said, so I can't change your mind? He goes, no. So I hung up on him. I hung up on my billionaire boss because I wasn't happy with what he wanted me to do. Prima donna Jericho in the his. But I'm like, I got to figure out, who can I talk to? I need to tell somebody about this. So I decided to call the only man that everybody respects, the wisest man in the dressing room, the man who whatever he says goes. I decided to call The Undertaker. So I called The Undertaker. You're not going to believe this. Got this WrestleMania thing? Vince wants me to work with, get this, Fandango. What do you think? He goes, what do I think? I go, yeah, what should I do? He goes, do it. I was like, what? He goes, just do it. And I remember a few years earlier, I was in San Francisco doing a promo, and somebody threw a big D-sized battery at the back of my head. You know those really fucking big ones? And I'm like, how did you sneak in a D-sized battery? And this thing hit me right in the back of the head, and it hurt. And I was like, you know what? You just lost your main event. And I threw the microphone down. I walked out of the ring. I walked down the aisleway. I walked to the back, and the agents were there. I said, I'm not going back out there. Some fucking guy threw a battery at my head. I'm not going back there. You can't make me. You can't make me. I'm not going back out there. And I look around the corner, there's Undertaker. He goes, what did you say? I said, I'm not going back out there. He goes, you're not? Gonna go back out there. Walk of shame back to the ring. But you know what Undertaker says, and when he said, just do it, I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, listen, everyone talks about the streak. And he goes, I've been very fortunate over the last few years. I've worked with Triple H, and I worked with Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair and all these great workers. He goes, they weren't always great workers. He said, had matches with Giant Gonzalez at WrestleMania and frickin' Nathan Jones at WrestleMania and all these fucking guys. He goes, you just got to do what the boss wants you to do. And if you can do a good enough job, he'll make sure to take care of you. And I learned a valuable lesson. A lesson applies to everybody here, all of us. When you are given a task by your boss, it's your job to do it to the best of your abilities. That's what we're paid for. That's what we're due. That's why we're here. So that's when I turned the corner. I said, you know what? I am going to do everything I can to get this match and get this guy over. I'm going to fucking put my full strength on it. And that's what I decided to do. And I only had 3 weeks to build up this guy that no one had ever heard of before in his life, who had the gimmick of being an evil ballroom dancer. And I know where Vince got the idea for that gimmick, because when I did Dancing with the Stars, Vince was super supportive, and he thought it was really cool that I was doing it. It took a lot of balls. You got a lot of balls. So he said, you got a lot of balls to do that. But he said, hey, let me ask you a question. What are those male dancers like? And he goes, are they kind of like cream puffy? I'm like, well, no, they actually pick up a lot of girls because, it's very sensual. He's like, oh, I don't believe that. Oh, I hate those male ballroom dancers. And I was thinking to myself, one of these days, Vince is going to create a character, an evil ballroom dancer, which he did, and I get to wrestle him for the first time. So I had to establish who this guy is. So I had two ideas in mind. One was I had to say his name as much as possible so people would know his name. But instead of just saying it, I would mess it up. You know, Fan Dodge Durango, Fan Dingo ate my baby. I see a silhouette of man, I love a man, Scaramouche, can you do the fandango? That was another one I actually did that. So people would now know this guy's name. One mission accomplished. Two, I wanted to get one of his moves over. We didn't have time, so it had to be his finish, which was the top rope leg drop, which I had him hit me with every single week. And even weeks when it was like, okay, this week, Jericho, you get the upper hand. I'm like, no, he has to hit me with that fucking leg drop every time. So now, A, we've established his name. B, we've established his finishing move, which then gives me something to work with. Comes time for WrestleMania, the second match of the show. It wasn't a great match, but it was a good match, and people were going nuts for it, and they believed in Fandango. And the finish of the match was me losing. Which is another thing that I called Vince when the day before when I got the finish. I called him. I was like, "You double-crossed me! You fucking asshole! You double-crossed me!" He goes, "What do you mean?" "You said that I would take 90% of the match and then go to the finish." He's like, "That's exactly what I said." And that's when I realized, like, oh. That is exactly what he said. I thought he meant I'd take 90% of the match and then go to the finish of me winning. No, you take 90% of the match and then lose to the new guy who they're building, of course. So I fucking apologized and walked away with my tail between my legs. But the match happened. The reaction was great. People booed. I remember I was saying, "Vince, people are going to believe Fandango beating me." He goes, "That's what I want. I want 65,000 people chanting bullshit. If we can get that, we've got something done." Well, there wasn't 65,000 people chanting bullshit. I think there was 3 guys in the front row that had too many drinks that were chanting bullshit. That's about it. But people were into it. And the next night on Raw, which is always the craziest night of the year, the night after WrestleMania, the Raw after WrestleMania, Fandango was one of the most over guys on the entire show. And all you fucking assholes were cheering for him. His theme song was even top 10 here in the UK. Surprised that you guys remember that piece of shit. But when I was leaving the show, everybody in the audience, in the parking lot walking back to their cars was doing exactly what you guys just did. And I remember I called Vince, I just held the phone out to the park and I said, "Listen to this." I said, "You just got a new top babyface." And that, to me, was the best part. I had a job to do. I put my fucking mind to it and made it work. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? I'll try again. That's what it's all about, isn't it? And just to go back, what Undertaker said, when I got my paycheck for WrestleMania 29, it was the exact same amount that I got for WrestleMania 28, which was a main event title match, and that was a huge payoff. And Vince gave me another huge payoff for doing a good job with Fandango. So there you go. More than you make in a year, my friend.
Can you just tell us every single piece of information about what led to and what happened at the backlot brawl at WrestleMania 12 with Rowdy Roddy Piper, please?
Well, you know that was supposed to be me and Razor Ramon first, though, right? And then Razor ended up leaving. We were supposed to have a Miami street fight via satellite from Miami while WrestleMania is going on in Los Angeles, California. But he left. 2 weeks before, we're shooting TVs and stuff, and Vince walks up to me and he says, "Hey, I need you on a plane with me, Bruce Pritchard, and Roddy Piper tomorrow morning at so-and-so time." I said, "Yes, sir, no problem." This is when Vince would fly commercials still. So it's way back, like fucking 90 years ago. Sorry, guys, I'm old as fuck. And we get on the plane, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Nobody's like really told me what's happening. And they start to kind of tell me, you know, what we're going to be doing out there. And we stop in LA, and we go eat at this really fancy restaurant that Vince knew, the Wolfgang Puck's or something, you know, that Vince knew the owners, and all kinds of food. And I'm sitting there at the table with Vince McMahon, Roddy, and Bruce Pritchard. And we start talking about what we're going to do here. And this is 2 weeks before WrestleMania 12. So we drive over to Universal Studios in the back lot area where they had hired some extras just to stand around, you know, by this table. They made this table with all this catering stuff on it. And I'm looking around, and me and Roddy really aren't talking because this is one of those times where you've been in the business for a while and you trust the person you're with, and you know you're gonna create some magic because he knows what he's doing. And I know what I'm doing. So at this point, it's like I'm looking around to see what I can utilize in this one-take shoot. We cannot redo this. This is a one-take thing. Well, Vince went out and he bought a brand new white Bronco, just like O.J. Simpson had, right? The same year, same color, all that stuff. And then he got me an old fucking piece of shit Cadillac and spray painted it gold. I'm like, what the fuck? How do I get the shit into the stick? So I asked Vince, I said, can I take the car and just spin it out a couple times and test it out and make sure I can come around this corner, you know, decent? And she said, yeah. So we're playing around, and finally it's time to shoot. And me and Roddy had talked just a little bit, so we kind of know what we're going to do. But I am not to get any offense in at all. This is all Roddy kicking my ass, and the only piece of offense that I get is a nut shot. And then I get in the car and I drive off. And in me driving off, I clip Roddy's Bronco. That's what I'm supposed to do. And then cut around the corner and out of the fucking scene. He gets in his Bronco, he drives off. Well, a lot of that didn't work like that. So the start of this thing, I pull around the corner, man, and there's Roddy, and he's got a baseball bat in his hand, and he's hitting his hand. So I'm revving up the engine, I drive up, and he drops the bat, and he pulls up this big fucking fireman's water hose, right? And he starts squirting me like, that's gonna stop the car, right? But it does, and I put on the brakes, and then he stops, and he picks up the bat, and he comes and bashes in the fucking window right beside me. Glass went everywhere. He cut his hand. There was blood on me. I climbed out the other side, and he met me, and he commenced to kicking my ass for real. He hit me a couple times in the head with a bat. I guided him over to this big, giant dumpster, which I did not feel before we shot this. And I said, throw me, I'm talking to him, throw me into this dumpster. And I always loved, because it makes it really real, and if I can make something look fucking good, I feel so good. And he threw me into this dumpster, and it did not fucking budge. And I banged I hit my head so hard that I had a concussion, you know? It was bad. It hurt so bad. Vince did not want any blood, because I had asked him, I said, can I fucking get some juice in this? Since he's kicking my ass like crazy, he's hitting me with everything. He said, no. And, you know, that's how Vince is sometimes. Sometimes he lets it go, but he did not want any blood. So I talked to Roddy before this all started, and I said, this is the only thing that we really talked about. I said, I want you to bust me open the hard way. And he said, okay, I will. Sure, no problem. And I'm looking at him, and I'm saying, hit me right here, you know, because that's how you do it. You hit it right on that fucking eyebrow and just twist your knuckles, and it'll split open like crazy. So finally we end up, and he throws me on the hood of the car, and he mounts me, and he grabs my head, and I'm saying, okay, do it now. And he hits me square dab in the fucking forehead, not the eye. It hurt so fucking bad, man. And I'm just like, no, there's no blood, nothing. I'm like, do it again. Now, if you watch this fucking match, and you slowly do the tape, and you watch it, you can see that on the second shot, when he hit the same spot in the forehead, not my eye, he broke his hand. He broke his hand. You can hear the crack. You can see the thud into my hand, or into my head, and he broke his hand. So I got a concussion. He's got a broken hand. I roll off the car going, God damn it. I'm thinking, no fucking blood. Fuck, I'm pissed because I don't have any blood, you know. And there he is, and this is my one shot for an offensive maneuver. So I fucking nut shot him. He goes down. I jump in my car. There's glass everywhere. I'm putting my hands in. It's just cutting everywhere because he bashed in everything. I put it into drive, and there's Roddy probably from here to the camera, I guess, back there. And I'm revving up the engine. Now, this is one of the other things we talked about. He's going to move out of the way as I drive past him. And then I clip his Bronco, right? So I'm waiting for him to move. Now, I'm not driving too fast. It's probably 15 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour, I guess. I don't know. But I'm driving, and he's not moving. I'm getting closer and closer, and now in my mind it's slowing down like really slow, and I see him just moving closer. I'm just playing it out in my head. Please fucking move. Please fucking move. Please fucking move. He doesn't move, and I hear this kunk. His fucking knees just buckled on that car, and he grabs the where the hood is right there, and I'm looking right at him in his fucking eyes, and he's looking at me, and I'm like, oh my God, I just fucking killed Roddy Piper, man, Jesus. Right? He didn't move. But at the same time, I know that he's been in films and he's been a stuntman, so I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe he's gonna be okay. I hope he's okay. Please get off my fucking hood of the car. I've already passed his Bronco now, so I can't hit his Bronco. He rolls off, I drive off. I drive around the corner, they cut. I mean, he does whatever he does, but they cut the thing right there. And I come back, and all the extras that were there, this is a long story, sorry. All the extras were there, were looking at me, and I'm still like this today. I'm very kayfabe. I really believe in keeping secrets and things. And I know it's changed over the years, and sometimes you just have to accept it, but that doesn't mean I do. And I'm very kayfabe, and all the extras are walking up, man, you did a great job, and this and that. I'm like, get the fuck off of me, man. Like, I'm acting pissed. I'm acting pissed because I just got my ass kicked, and I wanted it to be real to them. They shut down, and I made it believable to them, which is good, It's good. We need that now. Our youngsters need to make the fucking people believe that something serious is going on in the ring, and that's a lot what's missing. And I did that, and I'm watching the video. Vince is in the back here. Roddy's upstairs. He's not watching. So he's nowhere near me, so I'm really kayfabing. And the thing is over. I'm watching the thing back, and I'm just grunting and just like shaking my head and fucking acting kind of hurt but pissed off. And they shut down really quiet. The thing gets over, and I just get up, and I just throw a chair, and I walk off. And they all were going to Vince like, man, he's really pissed. And Vince was, yeah, we got you, motherfuckers. I went upstairs, and I gave Roddy a hug, and we're both complaining. God damn, you fucking hit me in the head. You broke my hand on your fucking head, Dustin, Jesus. So Vince takes us both to the fucking hospital, right? Both of us. And he's sitting in the hospital waiting room, talking on the phone. I can only think he's calling Linda, right? And they're putting a cast on Roddy's hand, and they're fucking checking me out for my concussion and stuff like that. 2 weeks later, now this is 2 weeks before WrestleMania. 2 weeks later, I'm the Intercontinental Champion. We arrive in LA, and 3 days before, we're doing a rehearsal of what Vince's vision is and what he would like to see. And I'm thinking to myself, man, we need to add to this here, because he was looking for a way out of the match. He didn't want Roddy to win the IC title, but he didn't want me to lose the IC title. So we had to come to a middle ground there. And I said, Vince, what if Roddy ripped my clothes off and I had women's lingerie underneath? And then Terry, Marlena, would cover me up with my robe as I got out of the ring, and we just kind of ended it like that, and then Roddy would have his son come in the ring and stuff like that, and that's how we got out of that match. But when it's our time to go, they show the thing that we did 2 weeks earlier at the back lot. Then they show the chase scene. Then a match happens, and they go back. Oh my God, I guess they're coming to Anaheim, in LA. Looks like they're coming this way. Roddy's chasing Goldust down the fucking highway, but it's OJ that they're fucking piped in there, right? It's the OJ scene. So we're waiting in the back of the parking lot, and the thing is, he's supposed to give me a 3-second head start. And I'm supposed to bust through the barricade and go down the ramp, which curls down to the left. So they give me the cue, and Roddy's supposed to wait 3 seconds, because when I get out of the door and start running into the arena, he's supposed to, Vince wanted some car carnage, man. He wanted him to bump into my door and just smash the shit out of the door. Well, it didn't work like that. They gave me the cue to go, man. It's our time. Oh, they're pulling in. Oh my God, this is mayhem. It's fucking gonna be crazy or whatever. And I pulled down I bust through the barricade. He doesn't wait 3 seconds. He's pretty close. He's pretty close on my ass. And I pulled to a stop, and he's so close that I tried it, but I knew I wasn't gonna make it. So I pushed it open, the door open so fast that it slammed, because it was that close. There's no way. He would have killed me. And he rammed into the side of the door, and I just ended up crawling out the other side and ran inside, and I'm waiting there. And this was back when they had the tunnels, which was really cool. And I'm sitting there, and Marlena's there. She's consoling me, and I'm down on the ground. I just got my ass kicked. I had to make my makeup just like it was 2 weeks before. There was blood on my suit from the fight, you know, and the stuff. And had to do everything really kayfabe and keep it as real as possible. And here comes Roddy through the back door. He's looking for me, right? So he starts coming at me, and Marlena and myself are backing up through the tunnel, and oh my God, I'm in the fucking arena now. Holy shit. How did this fucking happen? How stupid am I to fucking come here to the arena, right? And I'm looking around, and they're fucking booing and this and that, man, and the bagpipes hit. The fucking music hit, and that place came unglued, man. It was fucking, I get chills about it every time I talk about it. It was incredible. And he walks out with his fucking walk like he does, man, and he's doing the slow walk, and I'm just like, no. And he's backing me up all the way to the ring, and we have our good little match. It was not bad. And he finally ripped off my clothes, you know, and we did it, and it was awesome. It's one of the things that stood out in some of the pictures, man, was the fucking women's lingerie, which I went to Fredericks to Hollywood, some she-male fucking shop, and got all this fucking gear, like a 6X fucking lingerie with net stockings and shit. So anyways, I rolled out, we get to the back, and that was history. That was WrestleMania 12 for me. I gave the suit to his son, not the lingerie. I don't know what happened to that lingerie. I wish I still had it, but that was WrestleMania 12 for me, man. And I had no idea that was going to be. I hadn't really heard of WrestleMania moments back then in my career. So as I look back on them now, that was my WrestleMania moment, was WrestleMania 12. I start tearing up when I start talking about stuff like that, man. Sorry.
WrestleMania matches are hard because there's so much buildup and you put so much expectations on it. It's very rare to have a WrestleMania match that you're really happy with. I've had one, literally one, maybe two, maybe the latter match where CM Punk won in 07, but the Shawn Michaels match might be the only WrestleMania match I've ever truly been happy with. I wasn't happy with the one I had with Regal. I wasn't happy with the one I had with Benoit and Angle. I wasn't happy with the Triple H. The Christian one was good. That was okay. I can live with that one. The ladder match I had, like you go through them all. The Edge one I didn't really care for. The Punk one I didn't care for. The Fandango one I didn't care for. The Owens one, I didn't care for, but it's hard because there's so much going on. And the sound from a stadium goes up into the rafters. So you never get that feeling of like the Tokyo Dome. Kenny was one of the only times I worked a dome show where you could feel the people and they were into it. You could tell. But other shows, they're not. And maybe outside are even worse because the sound just goes into the ether. And I think the build-up for the Owens match, I mean, that's one of the best years of my career. That whole 2016, the whole the Festival of Friendship was amazing. Everyone's like, oh, we knew he was going to turn on. You didn't. No, nobody knew because we had teased it so many times. And the Festival of Friendship, I wanted it to go from a 1980s David Lee Roth video to Game of Thrones Red Wedding. I wanted that in the 10 minutes to go from this to this, and that's what we had. That's why I came out, how are you? The hat, which I got from Roth, we put the hat on, sparklies, all this shit.
the friendship of the magician and all that stuff. And then just when you think it's not going to happen, it happens. You're like, no, don't do it. The list of KO. Hey, how come my name's on this? Look up, dead, right? One of the best segments in Raw history, people say. And I had to fight for that. Vince was not there that week. All the stuff that we agreed on was changed. And I had to fight back. Me and Triple H were not in a good agreement. And I was like, you're wrong. He's like, you're wrong. I was like, it's my segment. It's my show. It's not your show. It's Vince's show, blah, blah, blah. And finally, when it went the way that we did it and the way that I envisioned it, he texted me later and said, that was amazing. What a great. And I seriously, Game of Thrones Red Wedding. That's exactly where I got that from. And then the match happens, and I thought it was good, but it seemed a little bit missing. And the problem with us was we were on after Shane and AJ, which was it's funny because the year before was me and AJ, and we were on after the ladder match. We were second both years, and it's like, I wish I was first because the AJ match was good, but once again, the people are so into it at first, and the second one is hard, no matter who you are. And so I thought the match was good. I was very surprised when I saw KO after, and he's like, Vince said it was one of the worst matches in WrestleMania history. And I was like, what? Because he wanted Kevin to be this type of heel, and Kevin was doing a lot of stuff off the top rope and flashing moves, and Vince did not want that. And I think Vince had a hard-on for him at the time, and it would have been very hard for him to break. Because Vince never said anything to me about the match, ever. Not once. Never said he didn't like it. Never said it was the worst match in WrestleMania history. Never said a word about it. We talked about it the next night and didn't go into detail, but he just went, yeah. Like he didn't say anything. And I'm not going to go ask him because that's one thing about Vince. Sometimes he says stuff in the spur of the moment that he'll forget 10 minutes later unless you bring it up again. So, Kevin was very sad. And Vince told him you need to lose weight and this is terrible and you don't know anything. I've been through it. Vince told me you're green as grass. You're not worth the contract, the paper that the contract is printed on way back in 1999. So I told him, like, you are now going through the Vince, boot camp, and just stick with it and you'll do okay. But do I think it was a great match? No. Do I think it was the worst match in WrestleMania history? Absolutely not. And there was some great stuff in that they were able to use over the next few weeks, the finger on the ropes and all that. Overall, it was very hard to put on a match that would live up to the hype of the match. But, it's all about the story of getting there. And the match was cool, but I'd rather have a great story and an okay match than an okay story and a great match.
You have these matches with Undertaker in 2009, 2010. Now, just in case anybody doesn't know, Shawn had a match with Vladimir Kozlov, and the winner faced Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. That could have gone a very different way. A really shitty way if that had gone the other direction. We wish Vladimir nothing but the best. But, so did you... a Vladimir Kozlov applause. Only in Dublin. So, did you know that... So you have the WrestleMania 25 match with Undertaker, which, just steals the show. But the year before, you retire Ric Flair in that retirement match. When the WrestleMania 25 match finished with Undertaker, and everybody's raving about it, did you kind of realize at that point, this could be part of a story that leads to the end? Or were you still not thinking that way at that point? Because after WrestleMania 25, you had a few months off, and then you came back around SummerSlam. But when did you know? When did you go, okay, I think it's time now to...
Well, actually, I've told everybody the story. So no, I wasn't thinking about retiring or anything like that after the Rick match. It wasn't until the drive home, because we had the WrestleMania in Houston, so we're driving back to San Antonio, my wife and kids and I, and of course it's one of those times where you go like, man, that was pretty special. And so, because I'm not allowed to drive, my wife's driving us, and I said, honey, I said I'm not sure, but I think maybe I should have ended it on that one. So then she looked over, she goes, really? I said, yeah. I said, I'm not sure if it gets much better than that. I said, that just felt, I said, I've got a feeling of complete peace. And I said, I could walk away right now and be 100% okay with it. And she was just sort of blown away by that. And she said, well, look, maybe it's something to start thinking about. We're ready to have you home. So, it's one of those things, you say it. I'm very bad about, the next day, I'm like, Etch-a-Sketch, it's gone. we're getting about it. We're enjoying the summer. You know, we're getting ready to go into spring break and then the summer, and so we're enjoying that. And I like everything. Like every time I took time off, about midway through the summer, Michael Hayes calls me, and again, he's always talking about next year. You know, what I mean, it's one of the things Michael was always fantastic about because he was always, you know, trying to think of something special for, you know, HBK at WrestleMania. And so he said, just going to throw this out there. He goes, we've never done a return. And he said, what do you think about it? He goes, only if you're thinking about it. He goes, you talked about it here and there, but I don't know how serious you are, but you doing a return with The Undertaker, putting your career on the line. And he goes, look, even if you don't want to walk away, he said, we can figure out something. Well, but, and it's true, right? I mean, you know, yeah. I'm coming back. So, well, like it happened, I'll say this in the years since I've left, you know, wrestling fans have even come up with once, well, if Taker came back and said it's okay, or he demanded you to come back, you could do it, right? So, I mean, like, clearly when you guys are coming up with them, you can't really blame the wrestling business for coming up with them. So, but as I said, well, you know what? I said, that's pretty cool. I said, let me think about it, because we were actually talking about that. I said, but it's something I got the whole summer. I'll continue to mull it over. Anyway, once again, one of those like, it's gone. And so, enjoying the summer. I'm coming back, and so then now it's Slammy Awards time, and we're winning for Match of the Year. And of course, it pops into my head that, like, oh, I wonder, you know, like, are we going to do this thing? And by this time now, I've been back a little bit. My wife and I have talked about it. I'm like, I think it's, you know, I think I'm ready to wrap it up. And so, but I haven't thought about the Undertaker match or anything else. So I'm about to go out and accept this award. And I'm running around like now thinking about, hey, if we're going to do this thing, wouldn't this be a great time for me to go out, accept the, you know, the award for Match of the Year, and go ahead and challenge Undertaker, put my career on the line, or whatever, however you want to do it. So this pops into my head. I run and get Michael. I tell him. He's like, oh my God, do you want to do it? And I said, well, I don't know. I said, it sounds like a great idea. I said, you know, what's just something to think about? Other than that, when we go out and say thanks for the award and whatever. So I'm just trying to think of something to make this more impactful or whatever. If we're going to do it, let's do it. Oh my God! So now you can't just do that. So we got to go and, you know, the show's going on. Vince is up at Gorilla. We're up there. We're all talking about it, and so it's once again almost felt like, you know, the Raw is back in the, you know, Monday Night War days, because it's a little bit of chaos and, like, you know, I'm right there at the Gorilla position, and, you know, the awards are going on and they're slowly getting to the, you know, Match of the Year award. We're talking about it. And finally, I said, look, let's just do it. I said, I'm going to go out there. I said, I'm going to accept the award. I said, make the challenge, and that's going to be that. It's like, well, so you that's going to be it? We're going to put your career on the line? So like, yeah, I mean, I guess so. I said, I don't have to mention that right now if you don't want me to. I said, we could mention that later on. Well, why don't we just do that then? Let's just do that. Let's not throw the career-ending match out there right now. But go ahead and, you know, challenge the Undertaker. You know, and I said, all right. I said, you're okay doing a rematch at WrestleMania with the Undertaker? And he goes, yeah. I mean, yes. I guess so. I mean, he goes, hell, I don't know. What do we do? You know, and I said, look, I'm going out there, me and Michael, we're just having this sort of triangle, you know, circle jerk of three. Bob Raw's going to try to figure out what it is we're trying to do. Well, sometimes that, you know, believe it or not, I mean, what you see on TV is not always how it's, yeah. And so, you know, I said, you know what, I said, I'm just going there. You know, and by this time now they're making the announcements, Hunter's doing stuff. And so, you know, he's like, all right, we're just going to go there. And so that's honestly how that came up. And it's funny because Taker tells us, you know, tells the story now that's honestly how he found out what he was doing at WrestleMania that year. He's sitting at home watching Raw. I made the challenge. He's like, and he did. Yeah, he texts both Vince and Michael. He goes, so I guess I'm working with Shawn at WrestleMania.
And you go on to have this career-threatening match, and like I don't know if you're aware, people feel about this now, but there's the placebo song, the placebo version of Run Up the Hill, that plays, and it was the story of. You fucked up. Please don't super kick me in Dublin.